What's up, guys? Welcome back to another video. I have some cool news, some exciting stuff to share with you guys. I recently just hit 3 years since my last drink, um, and man, I feel great. It's quite the journey, 6 years in the making. When I decided that I needed to cut alcohol completely out of my life, that was about 6 years ago, and like I mentioned in previous videos, it took me about 3 years to kick it completely. But I'm here today making this video, and man, life is good. Life has, I mean, everything has improved, you know. And I just had to cut alcohol out. Had to quit drinking. When I was debating whether or not I wanted to quit drinking, I needed to make a change in my life because things were okay in some areas, things were not okay at all in other areas. And you know, after some reflection and just trying to figure out what the hell I was doing in my life, I came to the conclusion alcohol had to go. It was the one thing that I could do or not do, not drink, that would improve all the other areas in my life that were lacking, that I was struggling in. And I was struggling because I was drinking. I wasn't able to put my full focus on certain things, whether it's my relationship with my family, with my wife, with my friends, my relationship with myself, most importantly. I wasn't able to focus on those things. I wasn't able to be the person that I know I could be for all those people and myself. And it was because I drank way too much, more than anyone should. I've drank enough for a few lifetimes, you know. And man, what a journey it's been. I feel better mentally, physically. As of today, I'm the oldest I've ever been, for sure. And I feel the best I've ever felt. I'm in the best shape of my life. I hit the gym. I lift weights probably 4 times a week, mix in some yoga, to stay limber, to stretch. And mentally, man, I'm not where I know I can be, but I'm well on my way. And not having alcohol drag me down, constantly fighting the mental and physical fog. It felt like I was just trying to sprint through quicksand for years. Like I was putting in so much effort in my career, and I wasn't really seeing the results that I thought I should. And I had been drinking for so long that I didn't think alcohol was holding me back at all. It was just part of my life, just like sleeping was, just like taking a shower was. It was just part of who I am. And so I never really stopped to think that, oh man, if I quit drinking, my life would be like so much better. But it is. Like I said, I'm in the best shape of my life, mentally and physically. I'm sleeping better, which has helped all areas of my life. Waking up rested is, you can't put a price on that. If you get good sleep, you know what I'm talking about. And you could get to a point where there's nothing that I want to do to jeopardize my sleep. That's one of the most important things. Waking up feeling refreshed, energized, ready to take on the day is so much better than waking up with a splitting headache, feeling like Manny Pacquiao just beat the shit out of you. Debilitating hangovers where you're just like curled up in a ball. Feels like you drank a bottle of Tapatio, your stomach stinging so bad. You're feeling so bad you can't even drink water, you can't eat, and you're just laying there, lifeless, helpless. And just so happy that's behind me. My financial situation has improved, saving so much money, not drinking. I mean, I think at one point I was probably spending, no, I definitely was spending more on drinking and partying than I was on my mortgage and my bills. It was crazy. So, saving a ton of money, sex is better. I'm seeing more results at the gym. My overall mood is just, it's more even keeled. Whereas before it was like super highs, super lows, and it would just constantly fluctuate, and that was exhausting. And now I just feel like I'm kind of just kind of even keeled, but at a higher level than usual. I don't get flustered or frustrated by things that used to piss me off. Now, don't get me wrong, it's not all, rainbows and butterflies, but overall I'm able to handle situations that usually would send me off into some angry downward spiral and get all pissed off, and those it's pretty rare. And I can catch them when they start to come on, and just kind of like step aside, take a breather, relax, get my mind back in order, and I can just handle these situations so much easier. Thinking back to like all the struggles, all the times I told myself I was going to quit, and I'd make it a few weeks, maybe a few months, then I'd relapse and start drinking again. Like in it at the time, like I was struggling really hard mentally. I really was. And it was it was a it was because I set my goal to quit drinking, and it didn't come easy. And a lot of goals I've set in my life have come, relatively easy, but with this, like, I just kept screwing up, and I was super hard on myself, which made it even harder. You know, maybe you face similar scenarios where you're trying to quit drinking, but you're just super hard on yourself. You screw up, you slip up here and there, which just causes you to drink even more. You're pissed off, you're depressed, you're angry because you can't quit drinking. And I will offer this piece of advice is just keep going. You have to. If I didn't keep trying, I wouldn't be here today, making this video. Just don't ever give up. There's always tomorrow. There's always hope. As long as you're aware of what you're trying to accomplish and what you need to do to improve your life, like, you have hope. And, I was telling a buddy the story of my last drink a couple days ago. And before that last drink, I had a nice little 4-day bender like I always did, and you know just super pissed off and depressed that I let things get away. Things got out of hand again, and I was on my come down and just feeling absolutely terrible. And a couple days later, after I told myself I was done drinking, of course, I was offered a beer and had one. And I remember drinking that beer and just watching the beer kind of pour out of the glass into my mouth, and just like thinking, man, what are you doing? We just had this conversation for, like, I don't know, the 1,000th time. But that was my last beer. I can't say there was anything particular about that day, the conversation I had with myself that day, or that beer. It just something clicked, and that wouldn't have happened if I didn't keep trying. You know, And I know the feeling of how hard it is to quit drinking when, it's just so ingrained in your life. I was started drinking when I was 15, and alcohol's been a part of my life for 2 decades. I was known as a big partier and had had to reinvent myself. I'm still reinventing myself. But the key is just don't ever give up. Cuz you never know. One day it just might click and you're like, "Wow, there it is." Another piece of advice that I offer you is to talk to someone. It could be anyone. Whether you are familiar with AA, you can go to that, therapist, whoever you feel comfortable talking to, like reach out, because holding that shit in it's awful. You feel like you're all alone. You feel like no one will understand you. You feel like, it's you against the world, and I used to feel that too, and it's just not the case. There's plenty of people that are willing to help you and support you. Maybe they're going through something similar. I kind of made that mistake. I didn't really talk too much about what, the struggles I was dealing with. You know, whether you talk to a therapist, a friend, talk to someone. It's good just to get it out, to talk to someone and, bounce ideas off of them. They can give you feedback. It's part of the reason I became an addiction and recovery coach, because I didn't have that. And I want to help people get clean, get sober, quit drinking, and start to rebuild their life, because I know what it's like. This feeling that I have right now, like, you can't put a price on it. And it's because, I made a choice that I needed to quit drinking, and I was willing to do whatever it takes to separate myself from friends that, I would drink with all the time. We're still friends, but we don't hang out that much anymore. But it was just stuff that was necessary. So there's a link in the description. Want to chat? The first call is free, and we can see what we can work out, see if it's a good fit to work together. And yeah, we'll get you sober. We'll get you right. Get you running on all cylinders again. So yeah, I'll leave you with, just don't give up. There's so much life has to offer once you quit drinking. I know it may not seem like it, but there is. So I appreciate you guys taking the time to watch this video. Please share it with people. If you have any feedback, leave it in the comments. Hit that like and subscribe button. It helps get this information out on YouTube. So again, I appreciate it. You guys have a good day. Take care of yourselves, and I'll see you on the next one.